Hi and welcome to Cervello Live. Currently not live because I'm actually in my office recording this in the morning, and based on our new schedule, this will be going out in the evening. But it's still full of the. I'm not going to change the name of the show to Cervello Not Live. Feel free to please make your comments and do whatever you need to, and we'll pick it up certainly for one of the future shows. But we thought that with everybody going back to work and school and life sort of getting sort of back to normal, hopefully it will be by the time this goes out. We thought it might be easier for people to watch in the evening as opposed to the morning. So I'm recording this a couple of weeks before it's due to go out, and then when it goes out, hopefully it will be useful. No guest this week, but what we have got is a really interesting exploration of some of the psychology of money. Because to talk about money just as a force that we haven't got any relationship with is probably a bit of a false situation, because we've all got thoughts, feelings and emotions about how we feel about money. And what I want to do is explore some of the things that all of us are probably guilty of getting wrong about money at some point in our lives. Now, what we do is we call these things cognitive distortions, and it's not only money we have these thoughts and feelings over, but they are elements of our thought process where we jump to conclusions, we get things wrong, we don't think about things in a logical, sensible way, because we're human and we're emotional and we don't make decisions like that. But what I wanted to do is explore how sometimes those cognitive distortions, where our sort of brain makes decisions that don't serve us, how we might be able to overcome some of those thought processes. So, a bit about money today, a lot about psychology, because I think you can't talk about achieving financial goals without exploring somebody's whole life, particularly how they think about money. So what we're going to be doing today is talking about the three biggest cognitive distortions stopping you achieving your goals, and that applies to your financial goals but also to your broader goals. Now the reason that I'm talking about this specifically is because I'm going to be presenting at a conference. I'm actually not presenting the subject, but I'm going to be the questioner. I'm going to be the interviewer of somebody who's a real expert in the subject. And I like to make sure that if I'm interviewing somebody else, I've got at least a decent level of knowledge so that I can ask intelligent questions. So I've been really digging into this particular subject, trying to understand a bit more, and wanted to share with you effectively what I've learned about cognitive distortions. But the lady I'm going to be interviewing is a lady called Martha Lawson, and she runs a podcast called Squanderlust. And Squanderlust is a podcast that explores our relationships with money, our emotional relationships with money, and how we make decisions with money, and what we could potentially do to improve some of those decisions. So really interesting stuff. I've been listening to it on Spotify, but I'm sure you've got your own way of listening to podcasts. Squanderlust is definitely worth having a look at. But what I wanted to do is explore some of the things that Martha talks about when she talks about cognitive distortions. So the first one is getting involved in black and white thinking. Now, we're all guilty of getting involved in black and white thinking in all areas of our lives. Either it's good or bad, either it's right or wrong, and in reality, in life, there's a lot of shades of grey. You know, there's those variations that are in the middle where people, especially in today's politically charged environment, don't seem to get that most people sit in the middle. And it's really interesting when people talk about money and have these perceptions that either it's right or wrong, or black or white. Certainly when it comes to money, some of the things that we hear when we have just general conversations, not particularly with clients, but general conversations about what we do and talking to people about money, black and white comments like, I'll never have enough, I'm rubbish with money, or money is the root of all evil. In reality, money is just a tool to help you achieve your goals. Doesn't make you happy, it's not good or bad, but actually it's something that you need to think about in order to help you achieve what you want to achieve, purely because you need that resource of money to achieve certain goals. Black and white thinking, that I'm never going to be good, that I'm never going to have enough, then breaks down that mental plan where you can go, I'm sort of a little bit there, but I need some work. Or I'm not great at the minute, but I can learn the skills that I need to make sure that I'm better with money. Because what shades of grey thinking does, as opposed to black and white thinking, that bit in the middle, and like understanding that it's really difficult to move from black to white, but it's probably easier to move from a darker grey to a lighter grey, if that's better, is perspective. It gives, what thinking in shades of grey does is then allow you to think about things as a growth perspective, as opposed to just saying I'm rubbish or I'm good, where you can't start with rubbish and be good overnight, but you can learn to develop and grow. So shades of grey thinking is the way to go. So let's be honest about money. Money isn't good or bad. Certainly doesn't make you happy. It's not an intrinsic route to happiness, having loads of money. What it does do is give you the resources you need to make decisions and live the life you want. And I know that nobody's rubbish with money. They just haven't learnt the skills they need to develop and become better at managing money, both short term and longer term. And that's why black and white thinking is certainly dangerous, because it stops you making that development, making that growth. That's the factor on that. The next one I want to talk about is control. Now, there's a thinking that, and again, control fallacies are all about us thinking that either we've got no control or we've got total control. And effectively, that desire, that need to get total control, particularly when it comes to financial matters, creates stress in our lives. The thinking about having no control then means that we don't take the action we need to become financially independent and financially free. So they're both dangerous. Having no control and thinking we've got no control over our own financial affairs means that we don't make the right plans and goals and take the right action to achieve what we want to achieve with our lives, and that means financial but also otherwise. Thinking that we have total control and everything that happens with our money and our lives is our responsibility, then means that we always feel guilty and stressed and angry about what we're going through in terms of money. So the reality is somewhere in the middle. The reality is there's things that we've got control over, and there's things that we can't control at all. And the reality is the things that we should focus on in our lives are the things that matter and the things that we can control. And the reality is the majority of stuff we can't control, and the majority of stuff doesn't matter. I had a conversation with a really good guy yesterday who was talking about the global situation politically to me and the impact it's going to have on markets. And I said, well, look, I know what I can control when we advise clients, and I know what I can't. And what I'd rather not do is get into a speculative conversation about what might or might not happen if actually, number one, over the longer term, it's likely to have less impact than you think. And number two, you're in a position where you can't do anything about it, so there's no point in worrying about it. Now, you know, I say this because I'm human and I'm emotional. I also worry about stuff that I can't control, but I've certainly got better over the last few years of focusing, spending my time, effort and energy on areas where I can have the greatest level of impact to my life. So things that matter, things you can't control. And when it comes to money, there's a few things that you can control and there's a few things that you can't. So I want to talk a little bit. About that. Certainly, one thing we can't do is control markets. You know, markets broadly, investment markets broadly speaking, are volatile in nature. We can control the level of risk you take, but what we can't control is that money going up and down on a regular basis. And what we can't control is what happens politically and globally. We can vote and we can have an impact, we can have an influence, but we can't control it directly. What we can control is our own actions. So we can control the actions we take. So when it comes to our money, we can control how much we save, we can control how much risk we take, we can control what our goals are and whether we know that the action we're taking is going to achieve those goals, all under our control. The external elements are the elements that are going to impact our financial plan, but we can't do anything about. So by focusing on the areas we can control and taking action, we can then move forward. A lot of the challenge we find is that because people do feel out of control, is they don't take the action they need on the bits they can control, and therefore typically a client might come and see me and they want to achieve their goals in 2 years, and it's going to take a bit longer because they've not taken ownership of their money and their financial affairs early enough to achieve what they need to achieve. So we'd always recommend that people take ownership of what they're doing financially sooner rather than later, earlier rather than later. So that's one important thing now. Yeah, the third thing I'm going to talk about is blame thinking. Okay, so we're all guilty of this. We hold other people responsible when we haven't achieved our goals, or we blame ourselves for everything. And both are counterproductive. Again, blaming external factors doesn't do us any favours in terms of helping us achieve our goals, because it means that it's somebody else's responsibility and not yours. And the reality is, true action and true momentum only happens when you take the action you need to. But also, blaming ourselves for everything that goes wrong means that we then feel rubbish. And actually, part of making good decisions about money is being in a really good place, really having a good mindset, having a positive mindset, and blaming yourself and hating yourself for decisions that happened in the past that you can't do anything about is pointless. So certainly, blame thinking is not the way to achieve your financial goals. We think the right way of achieving your financial goals is super easy. So, first thing to point out is it doesn't matter whose fault it is. Where you are today financially is where you are today financially. Where you are today in your life is where you are today in your life. We, unless they do invent a time machine, we can't change the past. But what we can do is focus on where we are now and where we want to go in the future. And I think that the way that you do that is have a target. What's your goal? What do you want to achieve? Number one. Where are you now? So where are you now, and what small bits of action do you need to take on a regular basis to help you achieve that goal? Now, from a financial planning perspective, and this is a lot of the work we do with clients, what we'd do is we'd map out effectively where somebody wants to achieve, and we ask loads of questions from our clients about their hopes, dreams, aspirations, goals. We talk about how people want to spend their time. So effectively, if money was no object, if you had enough money to do whatever you wanted to do, how would you spend your time at that point? And that then gives us a real insight in terms of what somebody's life looks like if they were completely financially independent. And then we take that back to go, well, okay, if that's what you do if you were financially independent, how much might that cost? So we know what the gap is between where they are now and where they need to get to. Once we understand that goal, let's understand what you've got, because most people have got assets that they haven't looked at for a long while, and that might be pensions or investments or share saves with work, or normally a bunch of other stuff that you keep the paperwork in the back of a cupboard, but you haven't looked at for months. So our job is to then go, we know where you want to achieve, we know where you are, and then what we do is we use a software called Cash Flow to say, these are the clear actions you need to take from where you are now to where you need to get to achieve those goals. Sounds simple. Actually, the process of doing that can take time, because what happens is your goals change, so we need to change the action. Investment markets change. There's a number of factors that change those three elements. So what we need to do is keep a constant focus on making sure that whatever your goal is, we remain on track, and it's really important for us to do that. So again, if you didn't want to speak to a financial planner and you wanted to do this yourself, the three key steps that I'd recommend is clarify your goals and clarify a timescale on what you want to achieve those goals. Understand where you are now, so get all of those pieces of paperwork from everywhere you need to, and get up-to-date valuations. Again, you might need some professional help to understand that it's in the best place to achieve those goals, and that's where a financial planner again might be able to add a lot of value. But certainly understanding where you are now is where you want to go, and then work out with professional help or by doing your own research the actions you need to take in order to achieve those goals. Now, you might be able to do this independently, but if you did want help and you did want to speak to somebody about supporting you to do that, my details are there. You can get in touch with the guys at the office on 01708 606202. I can be found at chris@cervellofp.co.uk. And if you want to hear a bit more about us and the work we do with clients, visit the website, www.cervellofp.co.uk. There's loads of information on there about what we do, how we might be able to help you, and if we so you can decide if we're the right firm for you to work with. Hopefully that was useful. Hopefully that gave you some clarity in terms of helping you achieve your goals. We'll see you next time on Cervello Live. As I say, we're going to be doing this weekly, and normally we'd have a guest that comes in and helps us with it. So that will be carrying on from next week. Have a lovely week. Enjoy time with your friends and family, and have a lovely day. Bye.